All right, looks like we are right about 1 o'clock here. Um, I'll get things kicked off here. Hopefully, we should be somewhere between half an hour and 45 minutes. It shouldn't take anything longer than that. And today we're going to get into an introduction of EFR. My name is Dylan Mercier. I'm with Master Library out of Western New York here. I'm the Director of Professional Services. And I'm going to break down what this acronym means here and really kind of get into the details today. So a few things we're going to cover today, kind of the basics. What are electronic facility records? The 5Ds, don't worry, we're going to circle back to those a little bit later and really detail out what each of those mean. Collecting facility data and the kind of best practices, different ways you can go about gathering up all of this information. Asset standards, really getting that data stored and categorized in a useful format that's going to work best for you and your team for years to come. The virtual control center, kind of where you look at the bigger picture of your whole facility and helps you figure out the best way to manage and maintain your facility. And also the future, kind of the different ways that we see facilities being run and managed over time. And, we all know that changes over time based off of the different pieces of equipment we use, different types of connectivity, and overall the way that we manage our staff as well. So we'll dive right into it here. So what is EFR? Obviously, we got just a standard acronym there, electronic facility records. But really, it's the electronic tool that really helps you problem solve and organize the data in regards to your facility. So more and more, we're facing different challenges these days, especially as more of our devices are becoming IP connected. And also, districts and facilities in general are starting to have to run a little bit leaner just due to budgets getting a little tighter. Different facility managers are often taking on additional roles within the district or facility that presents its own unique challenges. Some of them are the fact that most places don't have a single secure location that building floor plans are housed in. If they're digitally stored, it's nice because you can release very controlled amounts of information to different staff members and even outside contractors. System drawings, construction documentation, right down to projects or product submittals, as well as closeout documentation, cable certifications and records, fiber test results, blower tests. Everything from IT devices up to the largest mechanical devices. Having all of those in one spot, secure, digital, tagged, categorized in a way that makes it easy to search, both when you're in the field as well as at your desk. Getting all your preventive maintenance procedures all documented. Each of these different mechanical pieces and sometimes IT pieces of hardware have very unique preventive maintenance procedures. Often these procedures are directly linked to your warranty status. Sometimes if you go to claim a warranty and you don't have a proper paper trail proving of who worked on it, what was done, what parts, even sometimes right down to which brand or style consumables are used to maintain these devices, you can easily avoid a warranty that can turn into a really costly mistake. Having all your O&M manuals, product data sheets, all of that in one spot. A lot of times when you're working on a PM, or even if you're troubleshooting a piece of equipment, you see it time and time again. Guys are trying to search up PDF manuals on their phone or a tablet, going through the Google search, weeding through manufacturers' websites. Sometimes you can find what you're looking for. Sometimes it's just impossible. Some of these devices and pieces of equipment have unique procedures based off of serial numbers. And sometimes you can only find the generic O&M manuals that cover a product line, not the particular products that you're looking for. Another big thing that gets missed sometimes is a lot of this facilities data simply resides in the heads of long-term staff. Perhaps the piece of equipment was installed before the district started keeping and maintaining their records. Sometimes it's information that it differs from the turnover documentation from a contractor, that the best practice has just been determined over the years from the staff members that actually do the work. Getting all those documented and into a electronic record is going to help keep them all accessible to staff for years to come. Um, Often hard copy drawings, they're stored in just the old dusty file room. Could be down in the basement, could be upstairs in a little mechanical room. Often these spaces are susceptible to water damage, mold sometimes, and it's really easy to lose a large batch of this documentation and never be able to get it back. Even if you are able to get it, often it's a lengthy process reaching out to architect of records or construction managers from past construction projects, trying to see if they have those records on file. Another good way that we've explained this to a lot of clients for a very familiar process is electronic medical records. Now, they've been around for years. One of the things you could never picture your doctor going back to paper records. It's less secure, it's more costly to maintain. It's difficult transferring those records from one location or one provider, doctor, facility manager, staff member, whatever that may be. The similarities are striking as you begin to compare how doctors and physicians and medical places utilize EMR versus how facility managers and IT directors could and should be using electronic facility records. I'm not going to go through every one of these in detail. I know this will be recorded and sent out to anybody that would like it, so you can kind of dive into a couple of these charts in a little more detail. I'll just hit them at a high level here. The EFR side of things, you can really get into every detail of your building, from the core building data, all of those documents, drawings, right down to individual bits of information in regards to an individual asset. You can schedule your PMs, you can automate your inspections, a lot of those day-to-day tasks or month-to-month tasks that can get repetitive year over year. Add them into your EFR system. It allows you to automate those, make sure things aren't slipping through the cracks. You can document issues. You can really zoom out and see that bigger picture of your facility. You can start to view how much time's going into it, how much money worth of materials and different consumables are being used by each building, as well as boiling that up to an entire campus or district view as well. The reporting side of things becomes very powerful. The more you put into the system, the better the reports are that you're going to get out. I mean, same thing goes with your medical records. The more often you go to the doctor, the better records they have. It starts to paint that story about you. The same way the asset record will start to paint that story of the asset itself. It definitely improves the quality of service and the lifespan of your equipment. It reduces cost of ownership overall. Just making sure that you're properly greasing fittings, not missing any important procedures when it comes to your preventive maintenance procedures, and make sure that each staff member that is working on a piece of equipment is performing the same process throughout the PM. That consistency is key, especially in a larger facility that may have issues with turnover over the years. Making sure that nothing's getting missed or slipping through the cracks is very important. It can also decrease additional costs, return trips from vendors, lost or misused inventory items, as well as tracking your inventory of spare replacement parts that you have on hand. Here we have another comparison about how the medical records and the facility records both follow a very similar life cycle. One difference in the electronic facility record side of things, it is a little more cyclical. Where you get to that plan, design, build, manage end of it, generally in facilities, you immediately circle back right back to the planning process. In some larger facilities that may have a little better access to capital funds, you may be beginning your planning process while you're completing the building process. All of that information, especially if you're able to gather it during the plan, design, and build, it makes that manage life cycle much easier. The same way on the medical record side of it, if you start those records right as an infant and you keep them all organized and categorized and you transfer those from provider to provider as you grow up, you may move across the country and those records will follow you into adulthood. And as a senior, that's going to make sure that you receive the best medical care possible because they're going to have that story about you. The same way your building has a similar story to tell. So 5 Ds of EFR. We're going to go through each of them. The 1 through 4 kind of boils into number 5, and all of them together will help you run a leaner, more efficient facility. The first one is data. I think that's probably the most important one. I mean, that's why we're tracking all of these electronic facility records. It's just a way to categorize and organize all of that data. It can be discrete fields. You can fill in whatever is important to your facility. We build these out with standards in mind, but still allow the flexibility to be there in case your particular facility or district has something special or unique that you like to track in order for reporting. It's everything from the physical side of it, basic make, model, serial, to budgetary information. What did it cost new? What's it going to cost to replace? You can build in inflation values to it. You could associate insurance replacement costs to it, the useful life of it, which will help draw that timeline of when and how much that's going to cost to replace when it is nearing the end of its useful life. It helps you track all of your old work orders, who worked on it when. That's another very important one. Sometimes it notes the notes that go along with a PM or completing a work order. What did they use to fix it? How long did it take them to complete the PM or complete the work order against it? All of that's going to help paint the picture and help for your budgetary forecasting reports. The drawing side of it. So we have the ability to track work orders and your assets both in a database form, which is typically just the work order system. But then we also have a drawings module product that allows you to see all of your assets that are physically located in your building on a digital floor plan. This is very powerful, especially for the techs that are using it in the field. It allows them to, one, take a work order, view it on a drawing, know quickly and easily how to get to that asset. Then they can click into it, see the details, pull up the work history, get to the old work orders, get to the notes that other folks have left for it, as well as see anything else that's related to it. It gives you a quick and easy access link to get to other mechanical drawings or historic drawings that may have been scanned into the system. Gives you a quick link to get to O&Ms and different binders files that may be associated with it. Touched on a little bit, documents. It kind of rolls right into the drawing side. As I stated, you can click right into it to get to these warranties, plans and reports, O&M manuals, additional photos, asbestos reports. I mean, the document side of it is very open-ended. Just think of all of those 3-ring binders you may get on construction closeouts that have different files associated with a particular asset. Once those are all linked back to that asset record, it will allow you to always easily access them and any other related information to that asset, right at your fingertips. The dollar side of it. Now, this one's getting a little more towards the business official side of things, but also as a facility manager or an IT director, you have to think about these things as well. How much does it cost you to run your facility on an annual basis? Spending on repairs can help you make that decision of when it's time to replace an asset. If you keep dumping boatloads of money to keep a particular system up and running, it may bring that to light that it's time to make a replacement, or at least start saving for a planned replacement in the coming years. Once you have that budget information in the system, the reporting functionality helps you paint a picture that makes it a lot easier to go in front of a board or stakeholders to ask for that sometimes large monetary amount in order to do a substantial upgrade. Once you have the dollars that are going into it against the dollars that you could potentially save over a 10-15 year investment, those conversations become much easier. Now, all four of those boil up to better decisions. The better you plan, it allows you to make better decisions. They go from day-to-day workflows all the way to 5-10 year plans. It allows you to easily zoom in to the smallest little detail and also zoom out to view your facility or campus as a whole. It really gives you that 360-degree view of your building, both from the database version of it to the electronic floor plans drawn portion of it to the budgetary side. Really helps you paint that cohesive picture to better understand how your facility functions and the costs that are associated with it. That's all part of electronic facility records. Data harvesting. Now, this can be a little bit overwhelming for some facilities. We've touched on it on one of our other YouTube videos here. Just starting small, knowing what's most important to your facility will help make this exercise a lot easier and less overwhelming for you. Good place to start sometimes is existing documentation. Typically, there's a lot of it. May not be organized the best, may not be in one cohesive format or pile of documentation, but once you start to boil that into your EFR system, it takes all of those little bits and pieces from different construction projects over the years, different 3-ring binders, different PDF O&Ms, and it starts to put them into one place where you're able to access them quickly and easily in the future. Sometimes it's a drafting exercise. It could be different construction projects over the years, and you reach out to the professional services team, and we can take those construction documents as built. They may be hand-drawn digital markups. We've seen all different forms of it, and simply place those asset stamps and harvest as much of that information from construction submittals, as-built documents, all of that. Site surveys is another big one. To me, this is the most accurate way to do it. A lot of times the information that you find over the course of different construction documents is not always 100% accurate. And as you wind up with information that is either a duplicate or an inaccuracy, it can really start to skew the system and cause other issues down the line. The site surveys could be done in-house, where if you have a staff member that has the bandwidth that can do it, they may know the inner workings of the facility best. Have them go around, take the drawings tool, look at it on a tablet, look at it on a phone, add the asset stamps, take photos of the pieces of equipment or IT devices, type in the make, model, serial, what kind of filters it uses, what kind of ladder you need to get to it, MAC address, IP addresses. I mean, it's really endless what you can log from that. And a lot of it can be done physically from a site survey. And just adding all of that right into the floor plans. Data harvesting. That can come from staff interviews. Often your employees are one of the more valuable tools that have a lot of this information. It may consist sometimes of little steno notebooks or 3-ring binders or the notepad that they carry in their work pocket that has a lot of that work history. It may come from the admin or secretary that helps you manage your PMs, inspections, and workflows. Often we find, old Excel spreadsheets or GDocs that list all of these different inspections that a school district may do annually. Some of them are safety ones that may come from a third party, like fire marshal, fire extinguisher inspections, AED inspections, uh, things of that nature. And other ones are just internal things that have to happen with an audit trail, stage lighting, rigging, um, different field maintenance and equipment maintenance, things like that. Tracking down your parts inventory. That may be, again, just a physical survey. Go into the parts room, look at what you have on hand for inventory. It could be filters, could be belts, could be spare bearings and bushings and grease fittings. The list is long sometimes. So really just breaking that down into manageable bits and pieces will make it a whole lot easier for you. The more information that you harvest, it can save a lot of trips back to it. If you know you need specialty tools for a piece of equipment or a different piece of test equipment or meter to go into it, special ladder to get to it, all of that can be added to those notes that will be at your tech's fingerprints as soon as that work order comes through. Easy identification as well. It's one that I forgot to mention there. So sometimes in a boiler room or even up in a drop ceiling space, you may have a lot of assets, whether it be valves or pumps or different BMS controllers that are in very close proximity to each other. And sometimes it can be difficult to tell which piece of equipment is associated with that work order. When you have the digital floor plan combined with the asset record that has photos of each device, there's almost no chance of mistaking one asset for another. Asset data standards. So this is a very important one when it comes to standardizing how you capture all of this information. If you let everybody just type it in open source, open format, you're still going to wind up with a very disorganized pile of information. Yes, it's helpful, but you lose a lot of the reporting capabilities. Once you standardize that flow of information, it makes it easier to capture in the future. And it makes it a lot more powerful on the reporting side of things. It standardizes what people are calling different asset types and the data points that you are capturing. There were a lot of different standards over the years that have come and gone. They generally still exist. Some have national or global recognition. Some are viewed more on the construction side. Some are viewed more on the government and large facilities. They're very complex. They're generally difficult to navigate. A lot of people will use them a little bit differently from one facility to the next. So even though they have these discrete buckets for each little data point to fit in, it's rare that you see a facility that has all of their information properly formatted to fit into these standards. So we've been working hard with industry professionals, districts and facility managers alike to try and come up with a boiled down standard that really looks at what's important to the average facility manager. Still giving them the flexibility to add unique data points and go as deep and as detailed as they need to, but not making that a requirement. Building out the EFR, the AIEX, it's the Asset Information Exchange. Now, one thing that becomes available to a district or a facility manager as they start to standardize how this information is there is ordering. That's one of the big ones. Once you know what you have within your district or facility, it really lets you start to see and forecast what you're going to need over the course of the next year or years. If you have a facility or another district that you're close with, it could potentially allow you to start a localized buying group to really start to drive down the costs of procurement of both consumables as well as the actual hardware itself. We try and break the information down into three main buckets. It's the physical information, the budgetary information, and the technical information. Not all of them are required. All we typically require is the space of where it resides in within the building and a unique name. We strive for people to use an automated naming convention that utilizes the abbreviation of a building, the abbreviation of an asset type, combined with how many of that asset type there are within their building. Helps keep things very straightforward, very organized, helps reduce duplicates, actually completely prevents duplicates, which prevents headaches down the line for sure. We're also always polling the group. Every user of our system has an opportunity to request additional asset types, additional data points, and we will always circulate those through our team of trusted facility managers and internally, and make sure that it follows the standards, it's organized, fits in there, and we're definitely always open to adding them to our system. After you build this out, you start to build a virtual control center. Really, from your desk, you can view your buildings from that graphical view. You can see your different assets. You can dive into the reporting side. You start to see long-term forecasts. You can start to run what-if scenarios. You know, okay, if I'm spending X amount this year to maintain this piece of equipment, and it's going to cost me this much over the next 5 years to phase that out, but it's going to reduce my overall maintenance and operational cost, you can start to see how that starts to balance. Much faster resolution of work orders not only saves you money, but keeps your staff and the users a lot happier. The forecasting and reporting side, you get two-way communication. When that work order gets sent out, you know when your staff member is completing it, you know how long it took them to complete it, and you can also see what was used and any notes that go to it. Greatly increases your staff efficiencies. It can open up new collaborations for you. It can help to get the IT department and the facilities department playing nicer, managing their assets all on the same system. Definitely helps make that information a lot more transportable back and forth, and makes that communication and collaboration a lot easier. And as I just said before, makes purchasing much smarter and streamlined. Helps you see what's coming, and really trying to get that buying group concept out there a little bit more. Whether it's districts in your close proximity. I mean, you have facilities that will share sports fields. They may share transportation or maintenance facilities. So getting them to think about purchasing together should not be a difficult hurdle. As you build these all out, it will help you make better decisions. You can start to look at this information as a crystal ball. It's going to help you predict what's going to come in the future. If you start to see different pieces of equipment that are having premature failures, or quickly increasing maintenance costs or operational costs, you can start to make assumptions that other pieces of equipment that were installed on that same project may start to run into those same issues over the next couple of years. Really helps you start to see those red flags before they come to be an issue. It can help you get more aggressive service contracts from your outside contractors. If you're able to share this information out to them on these floor plans and share these O&M manuals where they're at their fingertips, it can save them countless hours even in troubleshooting. Even helping them locate and how to get to them, where your roof access points are. All of that will help save time. Staffing can be better allocated. As you start to track the labor hours across your district, you can see which buildings are using the most labor to maintain their equipment. It can help you identify locations where work orders are starting to take too long to get completed. It could show a sign that you're understaffed in a particular building or trade. You'll spend a lot less time investigating an issue, even locating the asset, and spend more time fixing it. Liability and risk management is a big one. Now, this one hits home for many, especially in these days, proof that spaces were cleaned and sanitized. Also often we're seeing districts that are still relying on the old paper checklist that gets taped to the door jamb of when things were sanitized, bathrooms as well. Even hallways, you can start to come up with a rolling cleaning schedule for areas that need to be deep cleaned. And not only do you get to automatically generate these work orders to get the work done, but you get the return information showing who did it, how long it took, and when it was completed. That way, if you have a staff member that's complaining something wasn't get done, or some people may just have a higher standard, at least then you can say, hey, this person was here on this day, they performed the maintenance. I'm sorry it got dirty before it should have. We will come and correct it. The accountability of staff. So we've noticed an uptick in efficiency in staff once they know that these work orders are being tracked that way. It's going to motivate them to try and get them done a little more efficiently. You're not trying to micromanage. You don't never want to convey that to your staff members. So that's not at all what you're trying to do. It's more just trying to better allocate hours. And it's all about how you have that conversation with your staff members to increase that efficiency on their mind and not make them feel like somebody's watching over their shoulder. Help make sure that you don't fail important inspections. Just doing those internal QCs before an actual state or SED inspection can greatly reduce and almost eliminate failed inspections. You can eliminate very, very costly repairs due to premature failures or just being able to identify an issue before it becomes a large one. A small drip on a leaky pump, or a tank where a relief valve is starting to leak. If those can be identified on a facility walkthrough and logged, you can definitely identify that issue long before either a pipe bursts or a pump blows out or that relief valve lets go, and it can cost tens of thousands of dollars that could have been prevented with a $50 relief valve. You can potentially have to shut down part of your building if these things aren't taken care of. Major safety items, stage rigging, fireproofing on curtains, lifts, elevators, different equipment inspections. The more you can check them, log them, document them, it'll help make sure your staff lasts, or your equipment lasts as long as it's supposed to, and your staff's running as efficiently as possible. Little things that could be major safety concerns that we see time and time again are fire extinguishers that get moved. Typically, they're in those closing cabinets and they have a home, it's marked, there's a sticker, but we see it often either in classrooms, mechanical spaces, stage, catwalks, things like that, where they're a little more freestanding, and sometimes they get buried with equipment. Boxes of material may be blocking it. Stored items may prevent those cabinets from being opened. And making sure all those are getting caught on your walkarounds is very important. Making sure you're doing PMs can also prevent having to bring out outside contractors. Grease traps are one that comes to mind, drain cleanouts, even floor drains within mechanical spaces, roof drains, making sure they're all cleaned out. The more you can do yourself internally, the less you have to rely on outside contractors that we all know cost way more than our internal resources. Another one is in the event of a real emergency, knowing where those shutoffs are or where that piece of emergency equipment is extremely valuable. Seconds can save lives. Knowing where a gas main or a water main shutoff is in the event of a gas leak or a main water leak. Knowing where your AEDs are if somebody calls and asks. All of that can potentially save somebody's life and save tens of thousands of dollars. The future of building management and facilities management is bringing everything into this digital age. More and more, we're seeing facilities-based equipment make that jump into the IT realm. We're seeing air handlers and rooftop units with NIC cards built right into them that have to tie into the IT department's network. And making sure that all of that information is tracked and logged in one spot makes this transition much more seamless. If you know what cable ID is associated with that cable that connects your rooftop unit to the IT department's network, and what IP address and all of that, the MAC address of your device, having that in one space makes that collaboration a lot easier between departments. Security systems, IP cameras, traditionally a facilities-based access control for lock management, that was always typically facilities-based. but these lines are definitely becoming blended, and having all of these work orders and data logged together just makes everybody's lives easier. Real quick, through a couple day-to-day workflows, kind of some real life scenarios that I see you guys getting into. First one, we're going to do a facilities manager mechanical based one. After that, we'll touch on sort of a IT based scenario here. So work order comes through, could come in from a staff member, could come from a maintenance guy, notices an issue with an AHU. They assess it, they generate that work order, comes in, they can see the exact location it is, the make, model, serial number. They know what common replacement parts are required to do that. They can grab any associated repair material before they leave the shop. Once they get on site, they're able to quickly identify the location by looking at the digital floor plan. We also offer QR codes that can go on it. So when they show up to this device, they scan it with their phone or tablet, quickly brings up all of this data right at their fingertips. They can open up the O&M, see the wiring schematic, any other EFR related data, streamlines the diagnosing process and hopefully the repair process. They're then able to log any parts that were used. They can add notes in association with it of what they had to do to fix it, even photos of what they did. So if something's opened up and a part failed, perhaps they're replacing it with a part that was not an OEM related part. They had to do some creative wiring to make it work to get that system back up and running. They can document those notes, provide a photo to back it up. That way, in years to come, the next technician to show up to that unit has all of that information at their fingertips. The IT side of it. So let's say you're one of the IT techs, you get a ticket that comes in that an access point is failing or working intermittently. That tech is able to see that work order come through, access the record. They can see make, model, IP address, MAC address, the network closet that cable, that communication equipment room that cable resides in. Even right down to what patch panel and what port they're connected to, even what switch and what port they're connected to. All of that saves an incredible amount of time when it comes down to troubleshooting. I mean, that allows you to stop in the CER before you even go to the equipment piece, make sure your patch cable's in place, your link light is lit. You can potentially check programming of that switch port, make sure nothing changed. You can see what device is actually up there. That way, if you have an inventory stock of replacement WAPs, you can bring one with you. You show up to the device. If it has a QR code on it, same thing. You can scan that QR code, get to all of that data just as fast as if it was associated with the work order. Track down all of that data, swap the new piece of equipment if you need to, go to the asset record, replace the model and serial number with the updated information. If you had to change the switch port that it's connected to, you can update all of that information right on the fly. That brings that right back to your director, makes it available for any of the other techs. You can even store your cable records and test reports with it, so you can check all that. The date that the new piece of equipment was installed. We all know some of these pieces of equipment, the warranty does not start until it's installed and commissioned and used. So sometimes that date of installation is as important or more important than the date of purchase. So that was introduction to electronic facility records. And again, I just want to thank you guys for joining us. My name is Dylan Mercier with Master Library, and happy to have you guys here. Look forward to seeing you on the next one.